Hi, this is a discussion piece rather than a review, and honestly probably more relevant to Australians than to anyone else. It's February 2025, a fact that is slightly scary because it came around so fast. And one of the things that came around fast was my QBD membership. Now, QBD, for the benefit of those people who don't know what it is Queensland Book Depot. And QBD has been an institution in Australia, initially Queensland, but now I think it's in every single state of Australia since the 1800s. And it's been kind of a beloved institution because its goal, much like the early Penguin books, was to make books readable and achievable and a decent price. So in 2016, it expanded to over 85 stores located in major shopping centres in every Australian state, with more on the way, or so it tells us. It's got links to Penguin, Australian Geographic, and so forth. I think 2016 was when it went a little bit off the tracks and became a bit more expensive. That's no fault of their own, really, because all books and all things have become more expensive. But it used to be you could pop into QBD and you'd have a whole range of books for $7. That's certainly not the case anymore. And I think they've been upstaged by major retailers like Woolworths and Targets, which now have lots of newish books, mostly newish books, for $10. So one of the things that QBD is doing to improve its circulation is it's got membership. So it's got VIP members of 3 kinds, and that's their loyalty program. I don't normally buy that sort of loyalty program because most of the books I read tend to be secondhand, and I enjoy foraging for them in op shops, in Bookfest, etc. I don't buy much online, and I don't tend to buy things new unless they're very specific. However, last February, for a couple of reasons, I decided I'll give this loyalty program a go. And this is the review to say whether it was worth it, kinda maybe, and whether I would do it again, probably not immediately. So the first thing about the loyalty program is that when I walked into the store, I was given a flyer, and there were 3 different tiers: silver, gold, and something else that I've forgotten. I went back, and when I went back to buy one, I bought the gold tier. She didn't really mention that there was a lower tier. So the lowest tier was $25 and the gold tier was $40. This is Australian dollars, by the way. You'll have to check the exchange rate to figure out how that compares to American, Canadian, or English, or whatever else you happen to use. New Caledonian, for example. Actually, no, New Caledonian is franc. They still use the French franc, even though France uses the euro. Fun fact that is in no way relevant to this discussion. Okay, so I bought the $40 membership, which was fortuitous, because one of the main things that I was interested in here was one of the benefits to VIP Gold membership. What I didn't realize is that the discounts that you get for these books don't take effect on the books that you're buying when you get the membership, because the membership takes a while to come through, and I wish I had known that. For gold membership, what you get is you receive 10% rebate on all purchases for 12 months. So that 10% comes off your next lot of books, and that isn't too bad. You get $40 worth of digital discount vouchers to spend on, which is basically your membership money, so you get your membership money back. You get free resubscription to the program if you spend $500 or more in consecutive 12-month period. I'm not saying that I don't spend that much on books, but I don't spend that much on books in one store. You get exclusive competitions sent via email, which is probably good for people who enter competitions. I never really got the hang of that. I did read about a couple of them. They bewildered me, to be honest. Information on new releases and upcoming specials via our newsletter. I'm not big on new releases, and they targeted very mainstream books, new releases. Access to signed copies. I do have some signed copies. I'm very proud of my Terry Pratchett signed copy, for example. And my Andre Norton signed copies, but it's not a main focus for me. free online shipping. That went cha-ching. That was the gold star. Shipping in Australia is phenomenally expensive, and some books, if you can't buy them anywhere but online, you can lose $20 per purchase. So the free online shipping was absolutely worth it, and I was happy with that. Here's the cincher. Credit expires 12 months from date of the transaction. It was accrued upon, and I struggled to meet that date. A few things about that I later discover. The 10% vouchers are only usable if you buy more than $50 at the store. So, if you spend $200 in the store and you get $40 back, and you've got to spend $140, you have to spend over $50 before that will actually take effect, which I didn't realize, and that's a lot of books. So I really should have got the membership before buying anything, but the 2 books that I bought the time I was in the store when I got the membership only amounted to $40 with an in-house sale, so that was okay. I decided that to use this membership effectively, I needed to target classics of good editions that I really wanted and hadn't been able to get any other way, and the free shipping. So yes. Now, my first purchase as a member was in March. I bought 2 Chiltern classics, which were on special, for $40. Northanger Abbey I hadn't owned for some time, and Sense and Sensibility, I did own it, but the cover was no longer attached to the rest of the book, most of which wasn't attached to itself. It was in 3 different bits, so Sense and Sensibility was something I needed. I really do like the Chiltern classics. They've got these beautiful covers which are embossed and touchy-feely. They look inside, they've got gold on the edges. They are very heavy books. There is weight to this, whereas there wouldn't be to a paperback. They're great for books like the Austens, which I have read over and over again and will continue to read over and over again, because if you spend this much on the book and it's this heavy and the pages are quite that glossy white, which I'm still not sure how I feel about that, you expect them to last better. And I've gone through so many Austens, they just disintegrate over time, and I'm over it. So, Chiltern Classics. I got those 2 on my first buy, and that was when I discovered that you had to spend over $50 to use up one of your vouchers. So after wandering around for some time, I ended up buying the book heaters off the shelf, knowing nothing about it, because it sounded cool and I needed some extra. So the book eaters cost $32, which is almost as much as I would have spent on the 2 Chiltern Classics without the voucher. And I got loyalty credit off it. So I spent about $28 more than I otherwise would have. But anyway, it's not a bad book. I have reviewed it. It's not the new love of my life. It's a great concept. Very much fantasy. Okay, so that was the first time. Next, I bought online 2 books I really wanted, possibly for free. So, non-fiction ones. The Birds at My Table by Darryl Jones. Darryl Jones is a professor at Griffith University in Brisbane. It's an absolutely travesty that while I do sessional teaching for Griffith University, it doesn't have a bookshop, so I can't buy this from the bookshop. He is a professor of urban zoology, and he writes a lot of books about birds in the urban environment. I have others of his books, they're great. No regrets. I've been trying to get this for some time. The postage on this book, if you don't have a membership, is exorbitant. So happy with that one. I think I got the Alexiad at the same time. Great book. It's by Anna Komnena. It is totally unique in that the Alexiad was written by a woman of the times, at the times, and it gives us a look into the Byzantine Empire that we otherwise wouldn't have. It is a heavy book to read. You'd have to be really interested in the period, which is about 1050 to about 1118. In the First Crusade, the court, it's hard to keep track sometimes of what's happening because everyone seems to have the same name. And the translation from Greek to English was by Elizabeth A.S. Dowles. It was a good book. I'm glad I have it. The other book I bought was An Immense Word by Andy Young. I've lent that out to someone. Another great book, no regrets. So the next time I went in was in May, and that was when I purchased all 3 Broken Empire books by Mark Lawrence. These were so good. I got the first one as an audio, and then I had to have the other ones. I wanted to buy them new because the author did such an amazing job on these. I enjoyed them so much. The amount of enjoyment I got from these books were disproportionate to any other modern fantasy that I've read in any sub, grimdark, whatever that I've read recently. I wanted every single one of them. And I would have bought them whether or not, but as it was, I used a $10 voucher, which was my third. That was basically the price of my membership. And I had over $10 from previous purchases, the online ones. So I did actually get a bit of a discount. The original prices for them were $22.99, $22.99, and $19.99. So there was a bit of a saving there. I got the whole caboodle for $45.97 in total. Now, Amazon was selling this box set for around about $40. But there would have been postage on top of that. And the postage, as I've said, in Australia is ludicrous. So I'm not unhappy about that. Now, by January, last month now, I was getting a bit desperate. I had less than a month to use up the last voucher. Most of the books I wanted were not available. And it was getting tricky. So I ended up buying this. By the way, is another book that I bought through them, but I didn't get any reductions for this. I think I got $3 off because I found it and I bought it anyway, but not a lot. Okay. The Picture of Dorian Gray, that was another add-on. I had every intention of buying this one in a Chiltern Classic, but I could never find it, or a Words Cloud Classic, but I could never find it. I don't love this edition. I really wanted to reread it, and I'm glad I did, but the introduction to this one is terrible, and I don't like this copy at all. If I find a old school copy, I'll buy that and piff this one. Okay, so by January, getting a bit desperate, I ended up going online and buying, I guess they call them preprints, I think. So I've been meaning to complete my William Gibson collection for ages. I've got quite a lot, but I don't have all of them. And it's getting impossible to find them in the wild, except one or two copies that you find over and over again. I managed to find Spook Country, which I have read, but not recently and didn't own, and Agency, which I have read and didn't own, and also Roadside Picnic, which I recently reviewed and loved. So I used up my last $10 voucher, which was my membership for that, and I got all three books for a total of $48.62, and I got the free postage, which, trust me, that $48.62 would have turned into something like $70 if I'd been trying to buy postage with it. So I'm not unhappy that I did it. I would probably never have ended up finding Roadside Picnic if I hadn't, but I was very disappointed with QBD over a few things. They should have told me that the vouchers were only usable with purchases over 50, and I couldn't find any point on their website where they warn you about that. You have to find it out in store when you try to buy something, so you look ridiculous because you're told you can't use your voucher. Anyway, I had planned to use the free shipping to buy back editions to a lot of books that I want and don't have. Like every William Gibson that I don't have, I want. And I was going to use the Masterworks series to complete some of the older books that I can't find in the wild and want. And I couldn't do any of those things. If you go to the QBD website, it will list a huge number of books. And I checked this before I bought the membership. All the William Gibsons are there, every single one, but most of them are out of print, and you don't always see that until you click in and add it to your shopping basket. So do I regret this membership? No, I don't regret it. It was a good learning experience. It certainly solidified my opinion that these memberships are for specific people. The specific people that this membership is for is people who read a lot and who like new editions, which they like purchasing. They prefer very mainstream authors like, what is it, James Balducci? There's a guy who writes thrillers. He's there all over the place. And Australian authors. I do like Australian authors. Contemporary Australian fiction. I normally get it from the library though. So basically, this membership is most worthwhile to people who like the sorts of books that I get from the library. I won't probably be doing it again. I was also very frustrated at the Mark Lawrence series. The book that wouldn't burn was great. The book that broke the world was amazing, but I had to read that in the library edition because this copy isn't available until a year or two after they come out, apparently. In the meantime, it's available in Tombstone copy, as I call it. So it's about this much bigger. It's that much heavier. You don't get more words, you just have to take up more space for it. I don't like those editions, I like smaller editions. This is about as large as any edition I want for non-fiction. Worth it? Yes, kinda, maybe, sorta. Got some great books out of it. Wouldn't do it again. Thanks for watching. Mostly relevant Australians, like I said, but hey, hope you enjoyed it anyway. And read good books.